All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Final Round. My name is Jake. Today, we're going to do another fighter profile discussing this guy, Michael Grant. One of the, I don't want to call him one of the biggest hype jobs of the heavyweight division, but he was a pretty big hype job. He was viewed to be everything. He was. I'll just say this: he was carried on by HBO. They thought he was going to be the next big American heavyweight, and he just wasn't. Good solid fighter, but we'll get into that in a second. So, just to kind of give a background on him, I don't know much about his his boxing amateur. He former Golden Gloves winner, lost to Derek Jefferson. Um, Lost it to Derek Jefferson um, in the amateurs. He was a pretty solid pro for a bunch of years at heavyweight. But he's overall a pretty decent. Didn't have much amateur experience, but still decently. So he turned pro in 1994, and he, uh, born in Chicago. A Chicago kid he had all the traits you would want in a star. He had the gab, he had the look. Good looking African American guy. You put all together. He has a good punch. Look at this picture right here. He looks like a prize fighter. Look at him right here with the he's got us like this. He's like, yeah, look at me. I'm Michael Grant. I'm coming for the title. What I mean? He's got that look about him. Oh, hey, it's got to be something. I'm sure some talent scout for HBO or his manager was like, oh, look at this guy. He could be something. He could be something. Money. And he wasn't like massively pushed. Like I don't like. Obviously, I wasn't around I wasn't born in the '90s. I don't know, but he turned pro in '94. His first fight was at Hasbrook Heights, which is in Jersey. Um, and he started his career off good. He fought a guy named Frankie Hines. If anyone knows who Frankie Hines is, he was one of those. Well, I'm gonna make a big ranking boxing video at some point, talking about where every kind of fighter goes. There are those guys who are in boxing for a payday. They are a most of a club fighter rank. Now, when someone I mentioned Marion Wilson. I'll never put Marion Wilson in the category. Marion Wilson's record is like what 12-41-2. Marion Wilson fought like 30. Like he fought like maybe not 30, but he fought he fought like 30 or 35 legit world level guys. So every guy he fought was really good, almost all of them. And he beat some good level guys. Now, almost all of his losses, he lost like 15 or 16 future world champions. The guy was a good fighter. He just happened to get to fight the best and never would win. And also never had a knockout loss. Pretty impressive for a 12-41 record against that level of competition. I will stick up for Marion Wilson to this day, one of the greatest chins of all time. I mean, the guy fought Shannon Briggs for like 8 or 10 rounds, and after the fight, someone asked him, "How does he hit?" And he goes, "Man, a little soft." It was. Well, he didn't say that, but after the fight, or a couple weeks later, someone saw him at like a restaurant and was like, "Hey, man, Briggs beat you. How'd you feel afterwards?" I'm already hit pretty hard, right? And he goes, "Man, a little soft." Something like that. He's like, "Yeah, soft," something like that. Guy's awesome. But he fought a guy named Frankie Hines, who at the time when he fought Frankie Hines, he's one of those guys who is his record 14-67-2. Well, Frankie Hines retired of a record in 2002 with 17 wins and 122 losses and 5 draws. That and it's funny. He went 2-4 in his last four. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. And guys like that often fight 2 or 3 times a month, or at least 4 or 5 times a year. And I'm sure he didn't get paid any good money for any of it. I'm sure he didn't get good stuff. But it's always funny to look at guys like that. You know what I mean? Because those are the guys that you throw in for a short notice fight. You give them to a young guy who's 2-0. He's 2-0. You want to pad his record of a win. You throw in Frankie Hines. He knocked out Frankie Hines in 1 round, which would have been bad if he took more rounds to beat him. Didn't really fight anyone really good. He fought a bunch of these guys who have bad records. He fought Carlton Brown, who was 3-42. Ed Strickland, I remember that name. Ed Strickland was 0-32. I remember. I saw Ed. I've seen him before on BoxRec. You know what's crazy? This shows you how much I've been on BoxRec over the years. That I know Ed Strickland. Like, I never want to fight, and I know who he is. And yeah, he started his career pretty good. He fought a bunch in 1994. Really didn't have any guy of any real decent ability. He at this point of his career, he fought one, two, three. He fought 3 guys with winning records out of his first 8. How many fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so his first 11 fights, he fought 3 guys with a winning record. One of them was 2-1-1. The other one was 11-7, and the other one was 6-5. Got it. Yeah. So but that's what happens when you're young. He didn't have much. He wasn't an Olympian. So, as people know, when you're an Olympian, you really can't pad your record. It's right when for instance, for Pernell Whitaker, he was I think 11-0 when he fought Roger Mayweather in 1987. If he was an Olympian, he could have been 21-0. But if he's 11-0 and he's fighting a guy this guy John Bass Jackson 4-4, 4-42-4, and you'll have an gold and you're gold medalist. You're like, why are you doing fighting this guy? Aren't you better than that? And there are several, or there have been several Olympians who do pad the record. They don't usually get to the top. They usually get found out by somebody, some middle guy. But he didn't really fight anybody that good. He, he kept on, going through the, a bunch of club fighters. He really didn't fight anybody. I'm looking at his record. I don't see anybody good. The first time I think he fought anybody decent was on HBO's Night of the Young Heavyweights, which was, I believe, March of 1996. I'm looking at it right now. Yep, here we go. March of 1996. Yep, this is it. Here we go. Yep, Night of the Young Heavyweights. Yep. And this was the infamous fight where David Tua fought John Ruiz, who was 25-2, but was still pretty good. David Tua was 22-0. David Tua knocked him out in 13 seconds. This is gonna be over now. It's one of those great fights. Shannon Briggs got knocked out by Darrell Wilson. I'll always remember that. That was great. That was great. And then the other fight between Donnell Doc Nicholson and Andrew Golota, who will come up later in this story. If you guys haven't watched the Andrew Golota career recap video on Rummy's Corner, please go watch it, because I love the way that Rummy would go. Am I the only one who remembers when Andrew Golota was a guest on the Conan O'Brien show? Huh. I love when Rummy does that, dude. It's the best ever. And then he has one. There was a promo for Andrew Golota before he fought Riddick Bowe the first time, where in the promo, you hear the great Larry Merchant go, he'll punch you, he'll bite you, he'll butt you. Because in this fight, in a fight with Samson Bahua, he bit him, and then in a fight with Donnell Nicholson, he headbutted him. No reason why. It's just, I don't know, whatever. Oh my God, David Izon's on here. I forgot what David Izon. Oh man. Oh my God, come on, Maurice Harris. This is crazy. But yeah, no. Michael Grant fought Corey T-Rex Sanders, who was a pretty solid guy in his own right. Pretty solid guy. Was never a great fighter. He did knock out Olev Maskiev. That's pretty much and beat Terrence Lewis. He's not a really. He beat Arthur Weathers, who was a good journeyman, but yeah. He wasn't at the time. He was 10-2, decent guy. Michael, because Michael Grant had only fought like 3 or 4 guys with winning records. He hadn't fought anybody really good, and then he fights Corey Sanders, gets a second round TKO, pretty good win. Then fights, you know, he has 2 more quick wins in 1996. Then has sort of a step up where he fights Ross Purity. Now, everyone knows Ross Purity as the guy that knocked out Vladimir Klitschko in 1996 in Klitschko's only fight in Ukraine his whole career. And everyone goes, oh yeah, Ross Purity. He was a journeyman. His record finished at 31-20-3. But there's a reason why they call him Ross the Boss, because Ross the Boss knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. So yeah, I mean, that's the greatest thing about it, man. That's why you gotta love combat sports and you gotta love boxing. But yeah, you know, he fought Ross Purity at the end of that 96. He beat him by decision, couldn't finish him, but you know, it was still, it was probably, even though Corey Sanders ended up being a pretty decent fighter, at best was a mid-level contender guy. Ross Purity fought the who's who for a number of years. I think that was clearly a better win. But he beat him by decision, had a couple more quick wins. He fought a pretty good guy in Jeff Wooden, who was good at the time, 17-2. He fought Lionel Butler, who he was a guy who honestly I think was better than he, or could have been better. He was just fat. He was just a big fat guy. And Michael Grant, that fight, he didn't train because it happened like 3 months after the last fight, and he fought at the end of and now in that night he was very, very active. He fought a pretty good Haitian guy named Ray Anis, who good fighter, who's 23-2. And Mike Grant won that fight easily, but still it was a good fight for him. You know, he beat Jeff Wooden. So in the fight with Mono Butler was actually probably winning the fight, and he got DQ'd because he kept going. He pulled an Andrew Galata, kept going low. I think he had like 4 or 5. I don't remember the fight, but I remember seeing this before doing my research, and I think he hit him at least 3 or 4 times with low blow. Got called off. And then he fought another longtime journeyman, Alfred Cole. He fought, and then his best win at point was he fought Jorge Luis Gonzalez, who was a decent fighter. He was never a great fighter, but Jorge Luis Gonzalez was himself a pretty solid guy. You know, he fought Riddick Bowe in that 95 for the WBO title. You know, he lost by 6-round knockout, but he still fought Riddick Bowe. Knocked out Brian Scott, who was himself a pretty solid guy in his time. Knocked out Curtis Shabalala, which is, if you guys have watched Box Legend TV, you know that Curtis Shabalala was a big hype job. And a worse hype job than Michael Grant, because Michael Grant beat the fair decent guys. When I call, right, I'll say this about Michael Grant. I don't know if I call him a true hype job. I would call him severely overestimated, where he was a solid guy, but I'll get to HBO. So it was around this time, around like 1996, 97, that and it was a big win over Jorge Luis Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez, I don't know, was he, what was it at the time? I think at the time he had just lost to Tim Witherspoon and Ross Purity, had gotten a win, but all 3 losses had been knocked out, and he got knocked out pretty bad by Michael Grant, but was still a good fighter, so coming off losses. Then he fought David Izon, who was pretty good. He knocked him out, and then that's good. And then he goes in there, he knocks out Obed Sullivan, who himself was a pretty good fighter. Former Marine, pretty solid guy. And you're thinking, okay, he's getting there. And this was 1998. And then in 1999, he fight Mohamed Abdin, who was a wasn't a mid-level guy. He finished him after 10 rounds. He then got a pretty big step up in overall competition when he fought Lou Savarese. Now, Lou Savarese is a guy who was himself was a pretty good fighter in his time. I'd put him probably on the level of like fringe world level, because he fought like Mike Tyson. He fought Buster Douglas. He fought Tim Witherspoon, and his whole career, his entire career. Now, he was supposed to fight a bunch of guys early in his career, had a lot of injuries. He didn't suffer a loss until he lost to George Foreman in 1997, and he lost by split decision. And then lost David Izon. So I'm going to the fight with he knocked out Buster Douglas in one round, who I think was old as crap at the time. But I think in this fight, Savarese was. I'm looking right now at it. No, dude, I don't care about Conor Benn right now. Right, he's gonna lose again to Chris Eubank. Listen, everyone trashes on Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. got me a lot of money that night, so thanks, brother. I never loved you, but you did your job. I'm trying to look. Yeah. So I think at the time, Lou Savarese, who he was never a great fighter. Never even fought for a for a true world title. He fought for the IBA title, but the IBA is that's a minor. That's a minor title. At best, at best. I'm trying to look at So I think Lou Savarese was. I don't know how old he was. Well, it says he's 60 years old right now. Well, thanks about it. Oh, he's a promoter. Oh, look at that. Look at Lou Savarese being a promoter. That's nice. Look at that. He just had an event in Houston. Good for him, man. That's good, man. Good for him. Good for him, man. But yeah. No, I think at the time, if he was 60 now in 2025, and he fought. Sorry, I'm trying to do math here, guys. And he fought. Let's see. And he fought. Okay, so 1999, 26 years ago. What's 60 minus 26? I can't do math. 34? Is that correct? 34? I think 34. So he's 34 when he fights Mike Grant. It's 39-2. It's a good record. But he hadn't fought anyone really good himself. And he was able to beat Savarese by unanimous decision. He won almost every round on most of the cards. And then after that, he gets Andrew Golota. Now this fight, if you guys have seen Andrew Golota career recap by Romy's Corner, he goes into death by this fight. He got dropped bad in round one twice. And it was a pretty dirty fight. Golota was landing some low blows, some rapid punches. Grant was kind of coming back. He had some bad low blows that Randy Newman clearly was I don't know if and this was viewed as the WBC heavyweight title eliminator. Now, even though Golota had already lost to Lennox Lewis, if he had won, he wouldn't have fought. He wouldn't have fought Lennox because he just got knocked out by him 2 years ago. But he would have been given a bigger fight, and it was an important win. Golota had like 5 or 6 wins on a comeback trail after the loss to Lennox, so it was important for him, to be able to get in there and try to get a win. And Golota was winning the fight, but he did the typical Andrew Golota thing, and he got knocked down in the 10th. Mike Grant had sort of boxed his way back, but Grant was down on the cards. He was down on one of the cards, 86-81. He was down 85-83 on one card, down 87-80 on the other card. I don't know. Is what it is. But yeah. Excuse me. I think those were after the ninth rounds. I don't know. Didn't count the 10th round. I don't think so. But he was down in the cards. If the cards were counted after the round, would have gotten closer. He might have been able to box his way to a draw on the cards. I don't know. But he was probably going to lose the fight. And then Golota just quit. Typical Andrew Golota. So then, all of a sudden, wow, he beat Andrew Golota. Wow, even though Golota was viewed as kind of washed by most fans. But HBO, and I was going to bring this up now, HBO around the time when he beat Corey Sanders on Night of the Heavyweights, they hadn't known him, they hadn't showed him. At that point, they go, okay, we might have something, and they had him on a bunch of undercards. Usually, like when he fought Obed Sullivan, I think that was a night. I think that was an HBO night where David Tua knocked out Nate Tubbs. Yeah. Chris Bird had a win, so I might have been I don't know if that was a HBO card, but there were definitely I don't know which HBO events they had. I don't know. He certainly was on HBO cards. Wow, look at this is some old cards back then. But yeah, no, because the fight when he fought Mehmet Abdid or Mehmed Mabdin was when I think that was on the Tuesday night fights. Or yeah, I'm usually Tuesday night fights. I think that was because just first and lost to Andrew Golota, so probably was that one. But yeah, when he fought Lou Savarese, I don't think that was that was MSG. I don't think that was a HBO card. I don't think so. But what if Andrew Golota, that was an HBO card. And like HBO tried to push him. They tried a little bit, and after the Golota, they go, okay, we got something here. So they threw him to Lennox Lewis. And if you look at Grant's record, he has beaten either older guys past their prime. He's at best beaten in their prime mid-level guys. Lou Savarese. I'm David Eisen, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. Lionel Butler was a good journeyman. And Ross Purity. So he had beaten some good journeymen and a couple mid-level guys. To go up from Andrew Golota, who at that point was having all his mental issues, whatever, he's Andrew Golota. He's an enigma. He was losing Andrew Golota. He's going to lose the fight. But he wins. Let's throw him to Lennox Lewis. That should solve it. And I think at the time, I don't remember all the circumstances around the fight. I do remember that it was billed pretty big. It wasn't like billed as like, a massive defense for Lennox. It was HBO tried to promote Grant as best they could for that fight. Didn't have much to work with in terms of record-wise and skill. He had struggled with issues that Golota had that Lennox had blown through Golota. So I think there was that. I remember like watching back certain tape of this, like watching back stuff of Lennox's career, and then watching some pre-fight press for this fight, and I remember. Well, not remember, but I remember lately when I was watching it, like excuse me, at HBO, made the observation that Golota wasn't the same, or the fact that Golota had rebounded since Lennox. He hadn't really recovered from the Riddick fights or whatever. It's what it is. He was losing the Golota and would have lost the fight. If he knocked him out, he knocked him out. But Golota was fine with the knockdown. He just decided not to get up. And they threw him against Lennox Lewis. Got knocked out in 2 rounds. It was bad. It was really bad. I'm not going to go into any more detail about the speculation of the fight. He got his ass kicked. He got his ass kicked pretty bad. He was down 3 times in the opening round. Lennox just honestly, I think Lennox was like, this is too, like there was. He said before the fight, Lennox, he's like, I'm gonna knock this guy out in the first 5 rounds. This guy's not good. He's not on my level. And Lennox made someone asked him, like, do you think that Andrew Golota was better? It's a question. It's on YouTube somewhere. Someone asked Lennox, do you think that Andrew Golota was better when he fought Michael Grant than when he fought you? And Lennox goes, no, because I knocked him out before he fought him. How could he be better? I knocked him out in 1 round. How could he be better? Grant couldn't even knock him down. He knocked him down once. Lennox knocks him down 3 times in round 1. Round 2, gets knocked down again. Fight is over. Yeah. And that was an MSG. And I've watched the fight back, and you can just tell the crowd's not on Michael Grant's side. Like, they were a little, like, Lewis, but, like, they were, Lennox was a pretty, at the time, this was around the time when Mike Tyson was slowly kind of working his way back up through guys after his whole 2 or 3 fights with Holyfield and the bite fight. Everyone's going, okay, and then when Mike knocked out Andrew Golota, I believe in 2000 or maybe in 2001, I forgot. I was like, oh my God, Mike might be back. And he wasn't back. He was faded, but Andrew Golota sucked at this time. It's funny. You should watch it. Please watch the Andrew Golota career recap. I think I will do a fighter profile on him at some point, but I want everyone. If I make that video, I'm gonna say, hey, go watch Rummy's video because my video is gonna be shit in comparison. And I think if it's look guys, Mike Grant was what 20. No, I'm interested. What was his record when he fought Lennox? He was 31-0. 31-0 with not a big name on his. The best name he had was Golota and Luis Alvarez. Saying something. And even though Golota was an important guy, like he wasn't ever super great. Excuse me, Jesus Christ, man. Damn. Okay, so after Lennox Lewis, this fight gets destroyed. He didn't fall off a cliff. He fought Jamil McCline, which was a fight he was supposed to win. McCline himself ended up becoming a journeyman. Was a overall decent guy. He never fought for he fought Chris Byrd for the heavyweight title and lost by split decision. But he himself was a pretty decent fighter. For a number of years. I remember when he fought. How was it when he fought Chris Byrd? He was 31-3-1. Yeah, he was never like an amazing fighter. He was okay. He knocked out Mike Grant 1 round. So yeah, and then Michael Grant got on sort of on a comeback trail for a little bit. He fought a bunch of nobodies for a number of years. And he had sort of built his way back up, was trying to get back to a title. He then fought Dominic Gwynn, who ended up becoming another like mid-level kind of journeyman, contender guy, sort of he was more of a gatekeeper, Dominic Gwynn. But it's kind of funny. He fought. It's kind of funny. He lost to. Sorry, I just saw the name Kubrat Pulev. I'll never forget when Kubrat Pulev was talking all this. She's going to knock out freaking Klitschko. But he fought Mahmoud Shah recently. Look at that. Crazy. Look at that. Unbelievable. Down goes Pulev on the left hook. That's one of Latimer Klitschko's best knockouts, I think. When he fought Kubrat Pulev. But yeah, he fought Dominic Gwynn, who was 21-0 and was on the come up, and he got knocked out in 7 rounds. He was down in the 3rd, down in the 4th. Yeah, and that pretty much kind of ended Michael Grant's overall time competing at high level, or at least mid level contending at heavyweight. I've looked at his record. He didn't fight anyone really that good. Um, After that, he fought a bunch of like journeyman type guys. Um, he then sort of got a chance when he fought Thomas Adamek, who was a pretty solid Polish fighter for a number of years. He fought for a number of um, was a Polish. He himself beat Dominic Wynn, beat Steve Cunningham, SS Cunningham, beat Eddie Chambers, lost to Vitaly Klitschko in 2011, but still went into the 10th round against him. So pretty good guy. Beat Chris Arreola, beat Andrew Galata. He beat good fighters. He was a pretty solid guy. I'd say he was a fringe, either fringe world level or a mid high level contender guy. And Mike Grant fought him in 2010, which I believe if he was, I don't know how old he was when he turned pro. Doesn't really matter, but he was in his 30s. That was 2010, and even though he hadn't worked his way back up, but he had this was kind of his last chance to fight someone at that level, and he got beat with a 12-round decision. He then knocked out Francois Botha, who was at one point in his career a fringe level guy. Unfortunately, Botha fought till he was in 2014, which made no sense. He was old as crap. He was pretty good for a number of years. Botha. He finished 48-11, but he actually fought Joseph Parker in 2013. That's crazy. And it's funny. He fights Francois Botha. He's losing on the cards, and he knocks him out in the 12th round to win the WBF World Heavyweight title, which was a minor heavyweight title. And then he fought Carlos Takam, who is a he's like, the way I view him, he's a mid-level contender guy. Lost to Joshua. Lost to Joseph Parker. Lost to Derek Chisora, Joe Joyce. Tony Yoka. Well, I want to see, is Tony Yoka still fighting? I always ask that. Is Tony Yoka? He's still fighting. Man, I'm not gonna video about Tony Yoka. Guys, this guy won a freaking gold medal at the Olympics. Or am I might be wrong. I think he won a gold medal at the Olympics. He should have. Is it 2014 that he won a gold medal? 2012, right? Oh no, he lost at the Olympic Games? Okay, I'm confused. I thought he was a... Huh. For some reason I thought he was a... Yeah. No, 2016... Yeah, at the 2016 in Rio. Yeah, he beat Joe Joyce for the... Yeah, he beat Joe Joyce for the... Yeah, okay, I'm on BoxRec, and BoxRec did not have 2016 Rio Games beneath. I was so confused. I was like, pretty sure he fought in the Joe Joyce for the... Yeah, he beat Joe Joyce for the... Yeah, for the gold medal. Okay. Yeah, he's 14-3. Great gold medalist, huh? Yeah, but no. He got knocked out by Carlos Takam. He then fought Mahmoud Char, who's mid-level guy fighting today. Grant quit after round 5, and then he still fought in 2017, losing to Krzysztof Zimnoch, who is a regional Polish guy. Yeah, so that's pretty much Mike Grant's career. He was never viewed as the next big thing. HBO tried to make him into that. This happened to him against Lennox Lewis, and that was pretty much his career. He never really recovered from that. He never was gonna be that. He unfortunately he's just remembered as a sort of kind of would have been, not should have been, or sorry, could have been, not should have been type of guy of an American great heavyweight that just never materialized, never was anything special, and yeah, and he ends up just being without this video. And I'm sure people have made Mike Grant videos, but the reason why I make this, and I think in terms of him compared to Jerry Cooney had a much better career than Mike Grant. Jerry Cooney fought Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks, George Foreman. The only really world level guy, like true, great, awesome guy that Michael Grant fought in his career. That that you could say, man, that guy was really good. Is Lennox Lewis. That's it. Now, the next best thing is Andrew Golota or Thomas Adamek or maybe Francois Botha, or Lou Savarese, but those are all. Andrew Golota is his own kind of enigma type of guy, right? And once you take him out, you got a bunch of journeymen, and you got a bunch of mid-level fringe, like fringe world level guys at best. And then you have Lennox. So you have all these guys, you have those guys, and you have like Francois Botha, Jameel McCline, a couple other guys, Golota, and then up here you got Lennox, like way up there. And he ends up just being basically pretty much a footnote on Lennox Lewis's resume. And he's going to be remembered as a guy who never had a chance, especially against Lennox. He never had a chance. But yeah, that is the fighter profile of Michael Grant. I don't think I have much else to say about him. There was a video on Boxing Legends TV, which is called Boxing Hype Jobs Meet Reality or something like that. And the video he's in got taken down. So I remember watching it, and I think Boxing Legends TV, those guys went into it in a similar way that I did. I just don't remember because the video is off YouTube, so I can't watch it I would have watched it to reference this video, but unfortunately it's gone. But I hope that I did a good job and went over all the points of Mike Grant's illustrious career. I mean, he finished his career with a record of 48-7. He never won a major world title. He only fought for it once, and his biggest win against Andrew Golota was kind of a fluke because Andrew Golota quit. So the best win of his career, you could say, was probably his win over Francois Botha in 2011 when he's old as crap. Because let's just say when he fought Lennox Lewis 2000, let's say he's 28. He might have been 28, whatever, because he started his career in 94, so he wasn't 18. Let's just say he was 23, 94, or let's say he's 22. No, let's say he's 20 years old, right? That means he'd be 26, 27 when he fights Lewis. That means 10 years from that means 11 years after that, he's 37 when he fights Francois Botha, who's probably like 48 at the time or something like that. Yeah, that might be his best win over Francois Botha, the fight he was losing. But yeah, man, he had a pretty decent career for a normal, for a heavyweight boxer. He had a decent career. He never beat anybody great. Kind of a suspect chin. Final record 48-7, 36 wins by knockout. 6 of those 7 losses came by knockout as well. So overall, that is the fighter profile for Michael Grant. It's gonna do it, guys. This is the final round. And remember, sorry, I'll say that again. My name is Jake. Thanks for watching this video. Remember, the greatest fighters always leave it all in the final round. See you guys.